Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us once again here on Strange Pathways. I am your host, Scott Mort. What a week it has been. One mystery solved, another one opened wide open. You probably know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about. The Calvine UFO photo. Absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. We're going to go back to 9 p.m., August 4th, 1990, near Calvine, Scotland. Now, these two hikers, they were just enjoying their day, the same as anyone would. They look up and they see a large diamond-shaped flying metal object hovering above the ground. Now, we don't know who these hikers were. They've kept their identities anonymous. That's completely their right. I understand why they would do that. But these hikers took 6 pictures of this UFO. They thought it was about 30 meters long, around about 100 feet, 90 feet, 80 feet, somewhere in there. This thing then shoots straight up into the sky and has never been seen or photographed again. I have issue with that. I believe it's been seen before this. More on that later. In this picture, very clearly, very, very clearly, a fighter jet can be seen in the background. Now, was this fighter jet following the UFO? Is it there by coincidence? I don't think it's there by coincidence. I think this thing very well knew that this UFO was near. The operation records books have been checked. There was no reference to any aircraft, military, UFO, nothing flying over Calvine on that day. Now in 1990, the hikers turned over their photos to the Daily Record newspaper in Scotland. The Daily Record newspaper then turns those photos over to the Ministry of Defense, and surprise, surprise, they were never seen again. Until this week. There's this gentleman, a Dr. David Clark. Now, he's a UFO researcher. He's a curator at the National Archives in Britain. He's an associate professor at Sheffield Hallam University. He tracked down the Calvine photo. He contacted an RAF press officer, Craig Lindsay. Lindsay, he had kept one copy of the photograph back in 1990, and he talked to the good doctor, and he goes, "Yeah, I'll hand it over." He handed it over to a UFO campaign group. They are called UAP Media UK, and they in turn have made the picture public. UAP Media UK, they're a relatively new project. They were formed in late 2020 by 4 individuals. Their goal they're there to provide information, contact, and resource to the United Kingdom media and others to approach the debate of objects of unknown origin with a serious tone. They are looking to bring this conversation to the public's attention, maybe to the world. And man, this is important to me. They are looking to reduce the public stigma surrounding the topic of UFOs or UAPs. Pick your poison. Tomato, tomato. They're looking also to minimize inaccuracies and that weird science fiction approach. Pre-1990s, if they talked about UFOs on TV, they played the Twilight Zone music. Post-1990s, the X-Files. Each one angers me incredibly. But going back to the Calvine photo itself, there will be an image of this up on the Strange Pathways Facebook page, as well as our Twitter feed. Now, honestly, I'm looking at this. The first thing that comes to mind, it almost looks like a mirage. And I would believe it to be a mirage, except for the fact that you can see the fence posts at the bottom. You can see the trees at the top. Those are not being reflected. You see the fighter jet flying. That's not being reflected either. If it was a mirage, I know the fence posts and the tree limbs is unlikely, but that plane would be doubled over. That would be consistent. Whenever I say mirage, it looks like a mountain peak and the bottom of that mountain peak, but it's not that. It's not that at all. There are those that think that this may be a test flight of the United States top secret Aurora aircraft. Could be a stealth blimp. It could be a standard UFO. But what this really put me in the mind of, what really triggered this diamond-shaped object, put me in the mind of the Cash Landrum incident. A brief overview. I'm not going to go into the Cash Landrum incident here. Maybe in a future episode. But a brief overview. This happened in Texas. A family, mother, son, grandmother, driving in the car late one night. They see a diamond-shaped object in the sky. And it is being escorted by military aircraft, just the same as this photo. There are flames coming out of the bottom of this diamond-shaped aircraft. It melts parts of the car. The family gets odd forms of cancer. The scorch mark on the road is replaced. A fresh new pavement right on that section of the road. And the government refuses to acknowledge. Once again, lives ruined. It is a sad and interesting case. I suggest you go pause the show, look it up right now. I am probably going to touch on the Cash Landrum case in a future episode. But I'm looking at this object, a diamond shape, kind of out in the middle of nowhere, escorted by military aircraft. Is this photo that we're seeing, is this the same craft or same type of craft or a future generation of the craft that terribly affected the Cash Landrum family nearly 20 years earlier? It is possible. I would be curious. I would be curious to talk to the hikers to see if they have any health issues that arose following seeing this craft. Another theory that I've heard bandied around a little bit here and there is, and the craft does have a very rocky shape to it. Another theory that I've heard is that this is the craft of a group of extraterrestrials. And I had never heard of these extraterrestrials before. I had to go digging. I listened to a couple episodes of an amazing podcast, Dead Rabbit Radio. Absolutely incredible. Found a few documents pertaining to these silicone rock-based entities called the Conformers. Now, according to what I heard on Dead Rabbit Radio and what I saw in these documents, what we were experiencing were these rock-based, these silicone-based aliens. And all the other stuff, the Greys, the Tall Whites, the Nordics, reptilians, mantids, all those guys are fake. The only alien entities we've come into contact with have been the conformers. And they're very violent. And their voices sound like pebbles being dropped through a metal pipe. I find it interesting, but I find it very odd that we would have only contacted one group of entities. I don't hold a lot of faith in the conformers. Do I think that there are silicone-based entities out there? Absolutely. Absolutely. We may never recognize them as life, but I do believe silicone is so close to carbon, that it only makes sense that us as carbon-based life forms, in other conditions, silicone-based life would make more sense. It would be much more durable, that's for certain. But would we even recognize it as life? Would they recognize us as life? Our next tale is going to take us back to 1998. Exton, Pennsylvania, Route 323, east of the town of Honeybrook. Now, this tale comes to us from Lon Strickler's. It's Phantoms and Monsters. It's a well that I go back to often. Lon Strickler has made an amazing website. And this is one I go back to very often. There's always something amazing on here. It's one of the very few websites that I check every single day. So, the witness and a friend, they're on the way back to their home. It's about 2:30 a.m. And as I said, they're coming from Exton, PA. They're driving along. They get very thirsty, and they decide they're going to stop at the Turkey Hill convenience store on Route 323. Here in Pennsylvania, we have two big convenience stores. We have Sheetz and we have Turkey Hills. And the witness says that they're going to grab something to drink. If they didn't grab a Turkey Hill iced tea, they're definitely missing out. Anyway, they pull into the parking space on the left side of the store. They get out of the car, leaving their friend behind. Their friend's staying in the car. It's 2 a.m. They don't want to get out. The witness passes the big sheet glass window in front of the store and notices a man leaning on the windowsill inside. Now, this man is wearing a wide-brimmed black hat, and he has his head kind of down. The witness couldn't see his face, just the hat. The witness enters the store. The male clerk behind the counter has his back to the witness. The man, if he's smart, he'd grab that Turkey Hill iced tea. If not, maybe a Mountain Dew. Very popular in this area as well. Chocolate milk. He gets his drinks and he goes to the counter. He's kind of curious about the man leaning by the window. So he looks over. Man is still leaning down on the windowsill. Head still down. And now he sees what he's wearing. All black. Black trench coat. He pays for the drinks. The clerk's acting, though, as if the man doesn't exist. Like the man leaning by the windowsill isn't even there. But kind of spooked at the same time. He's short with his words. He's very precise. You can tell something's off. The witness leaves the store. He's going to tell his friend about this weirdness. He gets back in the car, and his friend is looking at the man leaning down the sill, and she looks over at him and says, "Do you see this guy?" The witness says, "Yeah," and then tells her what happened in the store. The witness puts the car in reverse to leave, and the man raises his head, looks directly out the window at the witness and the friend leaving. The friend screams, "This man has no face." It was like the man's face was blurred out, like whenever they show a witness on the TV. Both of them are freaked out. They tear out of the lot. They head east towards the witness's home. The witness's home is only a quarter of a mile away. And they just speed the whole way there. They pull up to the entrance of the mobile home park where the witness lives. Both of them were silent. And that's whenever the witness says something very brave. He says, "I'm going back." Maybe what happened was that the clerk is being robbed by the man in the window. Maybe we thought his face was blurred out, that it was missing. Maybe he's wearing a stocking over his face. Maybe that's what we saw. They turn around and they head back to the store. They get back there. The man's no longer leaning against the windsill, but he wasn't inside any place either. So the witness and his friend, they proceed down the road. They don't stop. They proceed down the road. Just a short distance. They're going to turn around. And that's whenever they see her, a female in black. She's walking towards their car in the middle of the opposite lane. Remember, at this point, it's like 2:33 in the morning. The witness and the friend, they pass her. They immediately turn around to head back to the store. And to ask this woman in black if she needed help. They reach a stop sign. Woman's gone. It's been just a few seconds. The woman's gone. They're now heading towards the store. They decide to go right. They're heading west on 322. They drive slowly past the store. They notice the man. He's outside now, crouching by the payphone. His head's down, just to the right of the store. And there's a blacked out Lincoln Continental parked to his left. They never noticed that before. They see the clerk inside, standing behind the counter, but staring straight out the windows and perfectly still. So once again, they turn around a short distance later, and they're heading back. This time, they pull back into the parking lot. The man, the car, the clerk have not moved. They are in the same positions. The man in black begins raising his head, and they freak out again. They tear out of the lot. They're going east on 322, back towards their home. 300 feet from leaving the lot, They swerve. They have to miss another man. Once again, it's a man in black, wearing all black, walking towards them in the center of the lane. He's going towards the store. The man in black is going west towards the store. The witness and the friend, they're freaked out. Their hearts are pounding. But at this point, the witness is invested. They turn around. The walking man is gone. The crouching man with no face is gone. The car is gone. The male clerk that was inside is now a female clerk doing work inside the store. There's no other patrons in the store. No other vehicles in the lot. No other customers. What to do? Everything's okay now. And I put okay in quotation marks. The two return home. They talk for a bit. The witness's friend is calm enough now. She drives herself home. She has to pass the store to go to her home. The same female clerk was there. But on the way home, the friend's car blew the transmission. She only lives a short distance away. She walks home. She made it home safe that night. Turkey Hills, I'm sure you have a convenience store that you go to. Mine is the Sheets on Haynes Street here in Johnstown. No, you just go there all the time. The witness, a few days later, goes back to this Turkey Hill, and there's the same male clerk working, and his demeanor is totally different. For years, the witness and the friend, they never thought anything was man in black about this until a few years later. The witness was researching stories of MIB encounters, and it hit him. This was a man in black encounter. It never even occurred to him. Both the witness and his friend had seen UFOs throughout their lives. Even the friend's mother witnessed an alien at one point. What was it? What was it about this store that attracted the MIBs to it? Was it just an exercise in fear? A shared hallucination? A time slip? A dimensional jump? This is one of those strangeness cases. Like, you can always go, oh, men in black are attracted to UFO activity. But there was... why this one time? I've had an incident, one incident in my life that might be attributed to, and I'm putting this once again in quotation marks, man in black behavior. Did I see a man in black? No. It was odd stuff going on in my house pertaining to a UFO case that I was investigating. Long story short, my computer stopped working properly. I took it to a friend of mine who's very good with computers, and it had turned out that my hard drive in my computer had been pulled out and not put back in properly. There was no other way. Somebody physically pulled out the hard drive and then put it back in quickly, but didn't do it quite right. And that was where the evidence to this case I was investigating was stored at. It was on this hard drive. I'd be curious, have any of you ever had a Man in Black experience? Please email me. I would love to hear about it. Please email strangepathwaysmail@gmail.com. I would love to hear more. Our last tale is going to take us all the way back to January 3rd, 2008, Warnham, England, around 2:30 a.m. Now, once again, we're going to have an unnamed witness. This unnamed witness, like the witness from the previous encounter, has had previous encounters. She decides to go to bed. It's 12:30 in the morning. She just got done watching a movie on TV. Now, she's living in a block of flats. She's asleep, but she's woken up. There's this dragging sound outside of the building. She's probably very much like me. Once you're in bed, you don't want to get out. So she's listening, just lying there in bed. She's trying to figure out exactly what this sound is. She frees her right ear so she can hear better, but really can't make too much of it. Doesn't really help. She decides at that point, I'm going to climb out of bed. She opens her eyes, and at the foot of her bed on the left-hand corner is a glowing young woman wearing a bright white shiny gown with these pure and clear eyes. She's staring straight at the witness. And this white silvery glow, very bright, it radiates from her very essence and extends a few inches around her like a halo. But it was confined to her. It doesn't light up the bedroom. It's confined to her. They both stare at each other. No words are exchanged. No messages are given telepathically. And they're kind of looking at each other. And this dragging sound is still going on outside. This vision, this ghost, it lasts for about 30 seconds, maybe a full minute, and then poof, vanishes. So the witness lays in bed, trying to make sense of what just happened. She climbs out of bed, looks through the bedroom window, and the dragging sound, you're never going to guess this. The dragging sound was a Coca-Cola can. It was blown into the driveway. And it was just the wind knocking the can around. Witness just goes back to sleep. The only reason this woman saw this ghost staring at her was the fact that she was woke up by a tin can being blown around by the wind. I find that fascinating. Let me tell you something else I find fascinating, just on a little aside. Whenever I started this show, about a year ago, I guess, I really thought I was going to talk a lot more about ghosts. I really, really thought I'd have a lot more ghosts. But what have I had? I've had like UFOs. I've had cryptozoology, gargoyles, Bigfoot, chupacabras, odd coincidences, maybe a little true crime sprinkled in here and there. Most of my experiences growing up have been ghosts. I've seen a UFO once. I've seen what I think to be Bigfoot maybe twice. We'll call it 1.5 times. But ghosts, I have seen and had so many paranormal experiences dealing with the afterlife. There's no doubt in my mind anymore that something happens to us after we die. I used to live in a very, very active haunted house. The house that I'm living in right now, it's this big Victorian mansion in Johnstown. Whenever I first moved in here, I got it for pennies. And everybody went, "Oh, it's going to be haunted." I haven't had a lot go on here. I've had 1 or 2 weird things happen. But man, not the near weekly occurrences that used to happen at my old house. It got to a point, whenever I was living there, it got to a point that I became bored with it. It was nothing. It was absolutely nothing for me to come in and see a rocking chair moving. Lights in the field above my house. Lights in the house themselves. Somebody knocking at the back door and going away. Things being moved. Voices heard. I remember one time, I was coming home with a girl I was dating. It was very late at night. It was about 3:30 in the morning. And we're walking through the lawn. We parked at the top of the hill. We would walk down the hill to get to the house. Maybe a walk of about 150, 200 feet. And you could hear somebody playing organ. 3 in the morning. And whenever this place was deep in the woods. There was nobody playing organ at 3 in the morning in this forest. It would have been creepy in the daylight. It was creepier at night. The odd thing was, the girl I was with, she wanted to go down. I stopped her. We're not going through the woods at 3 in the morning to find an organ player that isn't there. I thought that there would be more ghost stories. And we do ghost stories every once in a while. But according to one expert, a Dr. Paul Lee, he says that we're running out of ghosts. He said that since January 2020, he's made this app. And since January of 2020, the amount of ghostly phenomena has dropped. Like some of the most highly haunted places in England haven't experienced anything for the last 2 years. Has it become easier for spirits to move on to the afterlife? Or in nature, you have predator and you have prey. And I'm wondering if something hasn't begun to prey on ghosts. I mean, it kind of makes sense, right? Ghosts would go into hiding, and the population of them would drop. So here's the question I'm leaving for you this week. Feel free to comment on this. Feel free to email me, strangepathwaysmail@gmail.com. Feel free to leave a comment on the YouTube video to this. But my question is to you, what preys on a ghost? Thank you for joining us once again here on Strange Pathways. Check out our Twitter. It is Pathway Strange. TikTok, @Strange Pathways Podcast. Thank you so much to everybody over on the TikTok. Really, those numbers are shooting through the roof. And I try to update them more frequently. This week has just been nightmarish for me. I only had a chance to do one TikTok video. Life, right? Just life got in the way. Instagram.com, Strange Pathways Podcast. Like I said, head over to our Facebook. We're going to have a lot of images dealing with the tales we've talked about here today. And be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Thank you once again for joining us here this week on Strange Pathways. Take care of yourselves and each other.